Welcome to the new podcast, In the Garden with Susan. I'm your host, Susan Ladner. I will aim to bring you top quality information on how to save open pollinated seeds, grow a garden, and preserve what you grow. Every Wednesday, I'll be sharing practical tips and techniques to help you on your journey to food security. Join me as I preserve the abundance of produce that my garden provides. Learn new ways of putting food away for the winter and some old ways that are from another century. You can find this podcast on Shopify and at my website. Come on, let's go wander down to the garden and awaken the dreams, history, and love that is held inside every seed. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In the Garden with Susan. And today we are going to continue on our journey through the Flower Power series. And I'm starting to see some of these flowers appear in my garden. This morning, my first marigold opened, and it's very interesting because that's what we're starting with today. And so I was actually quite shocked. I wasn't expecting the marigolds to be so early. And the first flower, well, besides the alyssum, that's been out for a while, but a calendula opened up yesterday. So the flowers are starting to join us in our summertime journey. And it's time that we can start putting some of these flowers into our dishes. And what is really interesting, we're going to be doing this for a while, I think, this series, because I keep finding new flowers that are edible. I was planting out my Celosia yesterday, and as I'm planting things out, I'm like, I wonder if these are edible. And I checked, and yes, Celosia is edible, and some cultures eat them. And there was another flower that I was planting. We're not going to talk about it today, but it's edible also. So I am really shocked at, the sheer amount of flowers that are edible that I've never really thought about. So we're going to get into the marigolds, and these are popular for their vibrant colors and decorative appeal. And so they're also widely used in culinary dishes. And so the edible flowers of certain marigold varieties, particularly those from the Tagetes genus, commonly known as signet marigolds, are known for their spicy to bitter flavor and are used in dishes to add both color and a unique taste. And so the different uses of marigold flowers that you can eat are you can put them into salads, and sometimes the petals of marigold flowers are referred to as poor man's saffron. And so when they're put into salads, they add a burst of color and a slightly spicy, bitter flavor. And marigold petals can be added to soups and stews. And in Georgian cuisine, dried marigold petals are a common ingredient used much like saffron to color and flavor their traditional dishes. And the petals can be baked into bread, biscuits, and desserts for added color and a subtle flavor. And dried marigold flowers can be used to make a calming tea, which is also believed to have health benefits such as promoting skin health and reducing inflammation. And the dried or fresh marigold petals can be used as garnishes, and these add a touch of elegance and a hint of flavor. And so to preserve them, as always, you can dry them, and they can be laid on a screen, or you can hang them upside down in a warm, dry place. And once dried, the petals can be stored in an airtight container away from light, which will preserve their color and flavor. And you can freeze them. The marigold petals can be frozen in ice cubes. And you can also infuse marigold petals in oil or vinegar to capture their flavor for culinary uses. And then this infusion can be used in dressings, marinades, or for cooking. And so I sort of wanted to know about the different marigold varieties and about their flavor, because there's so many marigolds. Like, are they all different? I wasn't sure, but this is what I found. So marigolds come in several varieties, each with unique characteristics, including their flavor profile. And so the first one we have is the Signet marigold. And these have a citrusy flavor, often described as lemony or tangerine-like, and they are the most commonly recommended marigold for culinary uses due to their mildly more pleasant taste. And the appearance of these marigolds are they are small and delicate with a profusion of yellow, orange, and red flowers. And what's just interesting is some of the information that I found in the beginning said that they have a spicy to bitter flavor. So there's something for us to do. Let's, grow some Signet marigolds and see how they taste. Like, I would much rather have a lemony or tangerine-like citrusy flavor. So I'm not sure. I've got some conflicting information there. And then the next is the African marigolds, and I believe I'm growing these. And these are a more pungent and bitter compared to other varieties. And they are not typically used for culinary purposes, but they can be used sparingly as a garnish. And so they have larger blooms with vibrant yellow and orange colors, often used in decorative gardening. And then there's the French marigold, and they are slightly bitter and spicy, and these can be used in cooking but are less favored compared to the Signet marigolds. And they are best used as a colorful garnish or infused in oils and vinegars. And they are compact plants with deep orange, maroon, or yellow flowers, and they're often with mixed colors and intricate patterns. And I just want to say, I'm really sorry. Somebody has started a chainsaw up. I'm not sure if you can hear that in the background. Please excuse me. I have to push on with this podcast episode because I'm delayed as it is, and there's things that keep happening. So we're just gonna move through whatever happens at this point. Next we have a Mexican mint marigold, and this has a flavor reminiscent of tarragon and anise. And it is sometimes used as a tarragon substitute in recipes. It's more commonly used in herbal teas and cooking. And so these are small yellow flowers and have a bushy appearance with aromatic leaves that are also edible. And then we have the pot marigold, which is the Calendula officinalis. And so even though this is not a true marigold, like it's not a Tagetes, but it's often included in the list due to its common name, and it has a slightly peppery to tangy taste, and it's suitable for both culinary and medicinal uses. And so it has bright orange or yellow flowers, and it's commonly used in tea for its soothing properties. And so when using marigolds in culinary applications, it's important to consider their specific flavors and choose varieties that complement the dish without overwhelming it. And so the Signet marigolds are generally the best choice for their more delicate and citrusy notes. And so you always want to make sure that the flowers you're eating have not been sprayed with pesticides or other chemicals if you're going to be consuming them. And so now we're going to look at the calendula, and it's commonly known as pot marigold. And so it's widely used for its culinary and medicinal applications. And so some of the uses for these flowers are in salads, and they are a fantastic addition, which adds a splash of color and a slightly peppery taste that's reminiscent of saffron. And the bright orange petals can be used as an affordable saffron substitute in soups and stews and also risottos. And you can bake the calendula petals into breads and cakes, and this offers a hint of color and a mild flavor, and they're also beautiful in scones and biscuits. And so you can infuse calendula into butter and oils for a colorful and flavorful addition to your cooking. And then this can be used to brush on breads or drizzle over vegetables or add it to a marinade. And of course, the dried calendula flowers make a lovely tea, and it's not only delicious, but it's also believed to possess health promoting properties, including anti-inflammatory anti-inflammatory effects. And so to preserve them, these guys dry very well. I've got calendula flowers in bags and jars, and from years past, I find them everywhere. And so they dry exceptionally well. They retain much of their color and flavor, and you can hang them upside down in a dry, dark place or use a food dehydrator. And I just cut them. I go out there with my bowl to the plant, and I just cut the flowers off like you're deadheading, and I just lay them out on the screen, and they dry very easy. And you can also freeze calendula petals in ice cubes, and this is a popular method as it preserves their bright color. And you can also infuse the dried calendula petals in oil or vinegar to capture their flavor. And then this can be used in culinary preparations such as salad dressing, oils, or marinades. And so I hope that chainsaw is not too distracting. It's very distracting for me. I just apologize. Okay, so here we go. The flavor profile of calendula petals is that they have a mildly peppery taste, and there's a subtle bitterness. And so this is a versatile addition to both savory and sweet dishes, and they are less pungent than other edible flowers like nasturtiums, but they offer a distinct flavor that enhances the dish without overpowering it. And so, yeah, there we go. We can also, like, you can freeze them without putting them in water. You just spread the calendula petals on a baking sheet and freeze them like that, and then put them in a freezer bag or a container after. And you can also infuse them into vinegar, and you just let them infuse for several weeks. And this is really nice in dressings or as a condiment. And so now we're going to talk about the borage or borage. I don't know how people say it. I say borage. And these flowers, they are about to bloom in my garden. I see all my plants, which are volunteers. Last year, I put tons of borage in with the potatoes, and now they have volunteered all. I'm not even sure how they got to some places of the garden because it's nowhere near where they were. And so they are about to bloom. And the borage is also known as star flower. And it's a wonderful addition to any edible flower garden. And it has beautiful blue blooms and has a cucumber-like taste. And so they are wonderful in salads, desserts, and in drinks due to their striking blue color and refreshing taste. And you can freeze the flowers in ice cubes, um, and you can flavor drinks with them, or you can also steep them in water to make a light cucumber flavored tea. And they are wonderful. Their vibrant color makes them perfect for decorating cakes and pastries. And so some recipes that you can do with borage is you can make an infused lemonade. And all you have to do is juice 6 lemons, put 1 cup of sugar in there, which sounds like an atrocious amount. That's I don't think I'd be putting that much in. But anyway, 6 cups of water, a handful of borage flowers. And so you're going to want to mix the lemon juice, the sugar, and the water until the sugar dissolves. Add the borage flowers and refrigerate for a few hours. Served chill with borage ice cubes. And I'm sure you could maybe even make that with honey. That would probably be a little bit healthier maybe. And so then you can also make a cream cheese spread. And this is interesting. You can take 1 cup of cream cheese and a 1/4 cup of chopped borage leaves, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped borage flowers, salt and pepper to taste. And you mix all the ingredients together and chill for about an hour before serving on crackers or bread. And then you can make a borage flower salad, and you just have your mixed greens, a handful of the flowers, and a vinaigrette dressing, and you just toss it all together and serve immediately to maintain the freshness of the flowers. And so for preserving them, you can freeze them, and they can be put into ice cube trays, and so that is really nice for drinks. You can also dry them, although they do lose some of their vibrant color, but they can be dried and stored in an airtight container, which can be later used in tea. And you can also do sugar preservation that can be used for baking, and the borage flowers can be crystallized. So you brush them with the beaten egg white, sprinkle them with fine sugar, and let them dry on a wire rack. And so now we're going, and they have I think I mentioned, they have a light cucumber flavor, and so does the leaves. Like the flowers and the leaves, they're a little bit like cucumbers. And so it's very interesting, but they are just beautiful. I love them. And then now we have the celosia. And the celosia comes in vibrant colors like red, yellow, and pink, and are often used as a decorative edible garnish in salads and other dishes. And so the leaves and young shoots of celosia are also edible and can be cooked similar to spinach. And so they're particularly popular in African and Asian cuisines, where they're appreciated for their slightly nutty flavor and nutritional value. And so the celosia flowers, with their striking appearance, are a versatile ingredient in the kitchen, and so they can be used as garnishes. The bright petals of celosia make an excellent garnish for salads, soups, and desserts, adding a splash of color and a mild flavor. And then the greens can be cooked, and then the petals can be chopped and sprinkled over dishes for visual appeal and a mild, slightly peppery flavor. And so some of the recipes that I found, there's a celosia salad, and you toss fresh celosia petals with mixed greens and edible flowers like nasturtiums and violets, a light vinaigrette, goat cheese, and nuts for a vibrant salad. And then stir-fried celosia. Like this is interesting. Um, Saute young Celosia leaves and shoots with garlic, soy sauce, and a touch of sesame seed oil. And then you can after it's cooked, sprinkle in some chopped flowers. And it's a great side dish that can be served alongside the rice. And then we have Celosia soup. And in Nigeria, Celosia leaves are commonly added to a traditional soup called Ifo Riro. I didn't say that right, I'm sure. And it also uses ingredients like tomatoes, onions, and chili peppers. So to preserve the Celosia flowers, you can dry them by hanging them upside down in a dry, well ventilated area. And once they're dried, they can be used in teas or as a garnish. And you can freeze them in ice cube trays for use in drinks and punches. And you can also pickle them. And both the leaves and flowers of Celosia can be pickled in a vinegar brine similar to other edible flowers and greens, providing a tangy addition to salads and sandwiches. So that's pretty amazing. Like, that's just, for me, this is shocking because I've never once looked at Celosia and thought, I want to eat that. Or, that, I mean, you look at the nasturtiums and you look at the calendula and you're like, yeah, those are, they look like when they go in your salads, it's, I just think they're edible. But Celosia. And so there are several different varieties of this plant, and the crested Celosia is known for its wavy crested flower heads, which resemble a rooster's comb, and they come in bright red, yellow, orange, and pink. And these flowers have a mild, slightly nutty flavor similar to lettuce, but with a subtle earthiness. And this variety is ideal as a garnish for its dramatic appearance. And next we have the plumed Celosia. And this variety features fluffy, plume-like flowers that are soft to the touch, and the colors range from gold to red, pink, and purple. And the flowers have a very mild and slightly grassy flavor. And this variety is perfect for adding bulk and color to salads. And also, both varieties, the leaves can be used like spinach or even raw in salads. And then we have the spiked Celosia. And this variety has a narrow, pointed flower that stands upright on the stem. And it often appears in pink, white, and red shades. And the taste is similar to the other varieties with a mild and slightly peppery flavor. And they work well in salads and as a garnish. And so, yeah, that is the Celosia. Who knew? I know this was my shocker of the week. And so some of the nutritional parts of the Celosia are that it's rich in vitamin A, C, and K, as well as dietary fiber, antioxidants, and minerals like iron. And so this makes them not only a colorful addition to dishes, but also a nutritious one. And so another thing I just wanted to talk about is the sunflowers. And sunflowers have parts that are edible, including the flowers. And I've eaten the seeds, and I know you can eat the buds, but I've never really eaten the flowers. And so we know that the edible parts of the sunflowers are the seeds, the petals, the buds, and the leaves. But we really just want to talk about the flowers. And so for the petals, you can sprinkle the bright yellow petals on salads for a pop of color and a slightly nutty flavor. And since like the flowers are like the buds, it's a premature flower. It's almost a flower, but interestingly enough, you can cook the sunflower buds like you would an artichoke, and you could steam them and serve them with a dipping sauce. So that's interesting. And so for some of the uses for the sunflower petals, of course, you can put them into your salads. You can use them on garnishes. They can be used as decoration on desserts, cakes, and also on savory dishes. And you can steep the petals in hot water to create a mild floral tea. And you can mix the chopped petals into softened butter along with herbs for a unique spread. And so when you're harvesting, you just want to pick the petals from the sunflowers that have not been sprayed with anything, and you rinse the petals gently under cold water to remove any dirt or insects, and you use the fresh petals immediately for the best flavor and appearance, and they could be stored briefly in the refrigerator in a damp paper towel if needed. And so I sort of wanted to know if all the varieties of sunflowers are edible. And what I found is not all varieties are grown with edibility in mind. But generally, the petals of most common sunflower varieties are considered edible. However, there may be some slight variations in flavor among the different varieties. And so the common varieties, the most commonly cultivated sunflowers, such as those grown for seeds, like the black oil sunflowers, and ornamental sunflowers such as the mammoth sunflowers, have edible petals. And these varieties typically have a mild, slightly nutty or bittersweet flavor. And it's like some of the ornamental varieties, they are not generally safe to eat, and they may have been bred more for appearance than for flavor, which can sometimes result in a more bitter taste. And so that's just something to think about. You don't want to go out to your garden and be like, oh, here's the sunflower, like let's just get into that. So I'm sort of thinking some of the ornamental ones are they're newer. They're hybrids. So what I would think from what I have found is that what you'd want to be eating heirloom. You want to eat the older, the heritage varieties that are from another century past, and just the common varieties. And so flavor differences, the mild varieties. Some sunflowers may have a milder, less pronounced flavor, making their petals more suitable for garnishes, while other sunflowers may have a slightly more bitter taste, but they can still be used in culinary applications. However, they might be better suited for teas or as a complement to more sweeter or robust herbs in the teas. And so for harvesting them, you always, of course, make sure they haven't been treated with anything, and wash the petals before use. And before using a large number of the petals in a dish, you want to taste them first to check for bitterness or any off flavors, especially if you're using a variety that you've never tried before. And so I also wanted to talk about, I can't find it now. I guess we're going to get into that next week because I can't find that information. So there we have it. a few flowers. I hope that maybe you find some of these flowers that are growing in your garden and you can add them into some of your dishes or tea this week. And I will talk to you next week where we will look at a few more flowers. Okay, I will see you in the garden. Thank you for joining me for this episode of In the Garden with Susan. I hope you're enjoying the Flower Power series. And as we look at all the different edible flowers, you can find this podcast and others at Spotify, Podchaser, Radio Public. It's on my Rumble channel. It's on my YouTube channel. And you can always find it at my website at www.gardenfairybotanicals.ca. I look forward to chatting with you next week when we will continue on our journey through the edible flowers.